Hi, I'm Dean Sage.
And I'm Jack Hervin.
And this is Show Me Your Deck,
a podcast where we explore the intersections of oracles and chakras,
using our original decks to create new insights. All right, episode 28, coming at you strong. We're on an off day. I had scheduled, I don't know why I did this. I scheduled my tires maintenance for 10:30 in the morning on Saturday, even though that's like right in the middle of the time that we do our work. And something just, I don't know, like in my head, I was like, oh yeah, Saturday, get it done early. And then I'm like, oh crap, no, that doesn't work that way.
Well, but here we are coming at you on a Sunday evening.
I know.
Working on the Lord's Day.
The Lord's Day.
Lord.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting to do it later in the day because I've already like had a day, and then I'm like sitting down to record. Whereas on Saturday mornings, that's the first thing I do. I wake up, and then it takes an hour to wake up. Of course, I wake up, and then I come talk to you.
Do you prefer it first thing in the morning, or do you prefer it at the end of a day?
I think I like it first thing in the morning because it's just fresh, and I don't have anything else that's kind of gone. And like I was writing earlier today, so like my brain's still kind of like. Do you kind of get into like writing mode when you write?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I used to do that with choreography, and I do it with research. I will get into a mode, and it's all I want to think about, and everything else is a distraction and an annoyance.
So we just call it creative mode then.
Creative mode, yeah.
Okay, creative mode. Yeah, no, I definitely I enter creative mode, and if either I'm in it or I'm not, right? Like there's no, even like I take Adderall for ADD, but even with the Adderall, like I can do work just fine. Work's great. I do all the stuff for the work. I get it done. But like it does not equal concentration on creativity. Like there's no magic in it.
What you're talking about is more for accomplishing tasks.
Yes. And creativity is not a task. I think if it feels like a task, it may not be the right thing to do.
Yeah, it needs to be more of a process than a task.
Yes. Well, I wrote something and then I rewrote it from a different perspective because I realized I keep doing this. I keep trying to write it from one of the characters' perspectives who you've read the outlines of the collection. So I keep trying to write it from Callum's perspective or the witch's perspective. And then I just end up going, no. It needs to be someone else's perspective. It's interesting.
Well, that's why it's a process.
Yes. Well, it's a lot like Sherlock Holmes. The character is interesting because you're not in their head. They're fascinating because you're watching them from the outside and seeing the miraculous miracles working.
Mm-hmm. As they make all these observations and make all the connections between all the details that you never even considered.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm finding that with this collection of stories, which everyone wants me to call a novel, that it is often not the perspective that I think it should be written from, which is interesting. It's kind of stretching me, making me think of things.
That's good.
Yeah.
Keep your brain like taffy.
Yeah. And I think I'm halfway through your book. I'm making progress. It's slow because I have so little time. I get up at 6 a.m. and I have an hour commute both ways. Sometimes it's an hour and a half at night. So like by the time I get home, I have like 45 minutes to call my own. And that's when we're not doing, tasks like shopping or, taking care of the animals or cleaning or other things. So, I've
all the adulting. All
the adulting. Yeah. It really sucks. And then you get to the weekends and then you don't want to do anything, but then you've got everything to do. Like yesterday we had a very busy day. So today we canceled on my dad, but he ended up getting the bed built by himself. So he didn't actually need me.
Oh, well, at least you get to disengage a little bit that way.
It was nice. It was a nice restful day. I think.
How long is the drive to your dad's house?
That's about 55 minutes.
Oh God. So it's like a work commute.
Yeah. And it's just close enough where he can come down for us for holidays, which is nice because it's hard to transplant the cooking to someone else's kitchen. Like that's not an easy thing to just up and move.
No.
So it's nice that he can come down, but it's about an hour. Usually we'll meet at the movie theater, which is more like 40 minutes away, which is nice. So that's kind of like just a little bit of driving for him and just a little bit of driving for me, and it works out well.
Well, good. And here we are now.
And here we are now. Yes. On the day that I didn't do hardly anything except focus on writing, and I installed a bidet. So I'm accomplished.
So, shall we get started?
Yeah. Let's see what context the cards pull out from all of that.
Let's see. Tetrahedron. Did you hear all that? The tetrahedron heard you and is giving you the intersection deck. Nice and abstract.
Okay.
Intersections, and we're going to go with number. Where'd you go? Where'd you go?
Oh no, it's like the fairy deck. It ran off the table.
Well, no, I caught it. It's number 32. So 32. Oh, how pretty. We're in the throat chakra, I say, which is air in my system. Pretty light blue color, as it is affected by red, earth, I say. So this is the root chakra. So how the way you communicate and the way you express yourself is influenced by how you perceive yourself or your sense of stability, health, wellness, purpose.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So how I say is impacted by I am.
And what's the color for I say?
I say is aqua.
Oh, it is a very pretty aqua.
And I am is red.
If you watch this on YouTube, or if you're not currently watching this on YouTube, you can actually see the cards that we're talking about on the screen, which is kind of nice because there's the visual essence. I think your deck it speaks in multiple languages.
Yes, simultaneously for sure.
Yeah.
This one's got the mandalas and the colors and textures.
So our focus here is I say the throat touching the root. So I say touching the idea of I am, the core being.
The core being the intersection. The main concept here is I say. Okay. And how that is impacted by your sense of self, health, wellness, stability.
It's so interesting how you throw
identity. Identity is also in there as well.
Well, that makes sense to me. It's interesting how you throw health in there because I think definitely in our context, and me in particular, doesn't think of health and the root. Like I don't connect those two in my head. Like you say it, but I think for me they're very disconnected, which kind of bleeds over into my life. I'd come undone, I think, in the last couple of years. I just had a couple experiences that just really kind of unwound me at the core of my identity, and I kind of lost myself a little bit. And health, of course, slipped away with that. I mean, I have an injury that I'm getting surgery on in a couple of weeks. So that'll help with that. But it's interesting how, like, I would integrate health maybe with, I don't know, like the third chakra, maybe, like
action, the way in which you take action in your life. Yeah.
But health is a root. It's your body at rest as well as your body in motion. Like I think of health as like, it's got to be activity. It's got to be, doing something.
Well, but health and wellness have all these different pillars, one of which is psychological wellness. So it's not only about the physical body, but the elemental itself is earth. And you have to look at my background. I mean, you explained yours, but I came up as a dancer and a gymnast, and now I'm a personal trainer and a wellness coach. So it is my identity. So it's the way I attach being with wellness is essentially one and the same. So I guess that's what happens when you create your own system and and allow your own life to influence it so deeply.
No, but I think it's really important. I don't know why I just latched onto that. Probably because, again, I'm going through getting prepped for surgery and thinking about health. Like I'm at a very bad body weight right now. I mean, just installing the bidet earlier nearly killed me. I had to go take Tylenol and sit down for an hour, and I'm still in pain from it.
From what?
From installing a bidet on the toilet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of bending, and I almost broke the toilet, which was awesome. Yeah, but my point is that I think I almost like separate health from me. Like it
well,
because I don't want to think about it because it's so hard to grasp for me.
when you connect it to choices that you make, then yes, I can see why you would attach it to the third chakra. But if you think about your physical body as being the container for your spirit, then it's actually the maintenance of who you are, at least in this physical realm.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so, yes, whether it's a bidet or taking a walk or, whatever you're doing, yes, these are choices, these are actions you're taking, but health and wellness isn't always about the choices or the actions you take, but maybe the stuff you no longer do. Like if you're quitting smoking, it's not acting on an impulse.
Well, and I think, at a point it kind of does, like, I think that it's easy to disassociate from health when you're not feeling healthy or you're not feeling capable of being healthy. And I think the way that we talk about health in our culture is very debilitating and dissociating. There's a lot of things on the Instagrams and the TikToks and things like that. And, these people that are able to spend their days dedicated to perfecting, an image of their bodies that they are striving for. And then, they're the ones that we look at and say, well, that's healthy. And, I know that it's not true. It's
all curated.
It's still very challenging to see, this ideal. And then I kind of go, well, wait a minute, that's not a healthy body. Like that's not what a healthy, like you hear the Henry Cavills and the Hugh Jackmans of the world talk about literally dehydrating themselves for a week in order to look that way in the movie.
For a one-day shoot.
Yeah. It's
so
insane.
It's interesting because what we're doing right now is contextualizing what we're talking about, the way we understand ourselves moving through the world, right? So this is the card, actually. So the way you're expressing yourself and how it's impacted by the way you identify with your own being. This is the conversation I think we tripped over into. I don't know if it's on purpose or not on your part, but we have in fact come to the point of this card that the way you express yourself is impacted by the way you perceive your physical reality. And so perhaps this card is a reminder for reframing context. I don't like, we've said this in past episodes, but I personally don't care much for The Secret, Attraction.
The law of attraction,
I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to it at all. But what I do subscribe to is frame of mind and how context and framing adjusts the way you can understand something. So when you look at the way you express yourself, be aware of the way in which that is being filtered through your perception of your current moment. And understanding that everything is always in flux. The air has no shape, really. It just fills whatever space it's in. So when you speak this out there, and it's not just speaking, it's what you write, what you carve, what you color, what you sing, whatever the creative modality is, whatever you're putting out there is a reflection of the moment, of the self that you are at this moment. And it's true that once you sing let's say you record a song and you set a piece of choreography into a music video, and every time you want to do it for the next 25, 30 years, Rhythm Nation will always look like Rhythm Nation. Sure. Okay, fine. But think about the moment of the process of creating something like that, your own personal Rhythm Nation, whatever that is, whatever speeches you're writing or the way you're editing your work. And the way in which you're delivering it, all of that is impacted by how you see your reality, how you see yourself, how you experience your physical body. Because this is the only way we can interact with this world and this dimension is with our physical body. And, regardless of reincarnation being real or not, this is the only life you're going to remember. So for all intents and purposes, in terms of choices that you make and cause and effect, this is the only one that matters. So,
well, you touched on something there with health. You mentioned mental health, but what you say affects what you are and who you are. That's the whole point of certain therapies, cognitive behavioral therapy, which works for a lot of people, which I'm very happy for. It does not work for me. That's fine. Like I'm not poo-pooing it. I think it's very effective for a lot of people, and there's a reason why it's widespread. But it latches on to the fact that what you say about yourself, what you say in your head to yourself, affects who you are. And by changing that narrative, by changing the things that the voice inside your head says, or by responding to the voice inside your head with better, more positive messages, it can really shape who you are. It can shape your health and your body and your senses.
Your sense of stability and your sense of balance, and all of that comes out of the root chakra. And so you can speak that reality into something closer to being. Which
is funny because we don't really adhere to the secret, but...
Yeah, but that's not the same. With the secret, thing. They're saying that, I'm going to win $1 million, then you get $1 million. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that context changes perception, and perception changes action.
Well, you have ultimate control over your reality in the way that you interact with it and the way that you interpret it and the way that you put it together. Actually, one of my favorite professors when I was in my grad program taught me, change your state, change your focus. You can immediately remove yourself from bad feelings or tired feelings or things like that if you just change your state and change your focus. So physical and mental. So physically, if you're tired, sitting up straight, changing the state of your body, and then changing your focus rather than telling yourself, I'm tired. You can focus on, I'm in class, I'm learning.
So then the opening context for this reading sounds like it's something along the lines of, remember that the way you perceive and communicate affect the way you are. So whatever the upcoming cards turn out to be, remember that your perception of them can also be fluid.
Let's get another card. Let me see what my deck has to say this evening. All right, we have the Sovereign of Seeds. This is the much maligned card, the Sovereigns. You are released from your fear. Sovereign of Seeds, you are released from your fear.
And well, actually you are if you choose to be. That's what we were just saying.
The reason people hate these is because they don't like the prescriptive nature of them. Most of my other cards are just, messages, things to think about, things to interact with. But these are the Sovereign. They're the ultimate expression of the chakra. And if you finally find balance in your root chakra, you're released from the fear of unbeing, non-being. You're released from the fear of becoming and not being.
Well, there's a big responsibility there, being a sovereign, being in charge, you have all this responsibility on you. And within the realm of a chakra, saying that you are released from something, because in each of your suits, it's released from something, saying you are released from, in parentheses, if you choose to be. That's the parenthetical unspoken, if you choose to be. And that's what's difficult because, it can look very complicated and dangerous or scary to decide to be free, because what you're constrained by is defining your reality. And if you let go of all those constraints, then what are you?
There's a definite sense of balance and unbalance in my deck. So things that are in balance, things that are out of balance. The cards can kind of be one or the other. I don't like reversals. A lot of tarot readers use reversals. I've never really vibed with that, but I do think that the energy of the card can be in balance or out of balance. And that's why I think these cards are very powerful, the Sovereigns, because you immediately know, right? If I tell you you're released from your fear, you have an immediate no, or
no, I'm not. Yes. Yeah, I got this.
It's an immediate reaction. I don't think any of my cards quite have the same kind of reaction, which is why I got such distinct and different feedback on them when they saw these messages. They're like, whoa.
Yeah, I remember not liking the Sovereigns at all.
Yeah, not just you. It's one of those things where as the author, you kind of have to just trust yourself, because the fact that it elicits a reaction is the important part, not that it elicits a positive reaction.
Well, and that's part of what's important to remember about, I say being influenced by I am. Whether somebody likes something that you've made is really kind of irrelevant. What somebody likes or dislikes has nothing to do with what you've actually made. And that's something that's important to remember as you go about your creative work, or, when you're trying to make choices. Ultimately, other people's opinions really don't matter. And I'm not saying that in the cliche way of, oh, it doesn't matter what people think. I mean, it actually doesn't matter, because what they think or feel is not having an impact on what you actually did or what you made. And so you keeping the sovereigns as they are works well, because you as the creator had an idea about how they fit within the broader spectrum of messaging. Mm-hmm. And it was important to have something as powerfully distinct as the sovereigns, because none of the others, I don't remember having that kind of response to anything else in your deck the way I did with the sovereigns. And I'm sure that people must have felt something similar based on what you just said. But remember, going back to the context for the whole reading, what you're making, what you're doing is more a reflection of how you see yourself. And of course, you get feedback from other people so that you're not working in a void, and you get ideas from people, sure. But just because somebody doesn't like something doesn't mean you have to change it. You might want to consider why you're not going to change it so you understand it better. But this, the process takes longer to create something than just getting people's getting their opinions. You need opinions, but you don't need them to dictate your choices. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You need them to help you inform why you do or do not make choices.
It's a tough part of the creative process, but kind of going larger than the creative process, which of course, that's where my head's at, because I was doing the writing up to about an hour before the show started. And I'm still kind of like, in that arena. But to kind of contextualize this in a larger sense. So I say, touching I am, like I said, over the last 3-4 years, I came undone and kind of had to, and still am, putting myself back together. The you are released from your fear card, this is very, very resounding, because it speaks to the root chakra. You have to say, I am released from my fear. And you have to grab it and feel it way down in your core. So it's different than being given permission. I think with the context of where we are, you have to say it. You have to actually say it aloud, say it in your head, say it to yourself. And that's hard when you don't feel it, or when you feel undone, when you can't find solid ground, like when you don't feel like your feet are on solid ground and you can't find that sort of settled feeling, still being able to say at your core, I am.
Remind me, seeds are earth in your system?
Yeah, so this is
okay, so we're still down here in earth, like we were with the first card. You were still here in the second card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you're very much, rooted and grounded even when you don't feel it. And I think it's especially when you don't feel it is when you need to say it.
Mm-hmm. As a reminder. Yeah. And so thus far we have the reminder that, the way you express yourself, is both, it's interesting. It's both an extension of how you are and a reinforcement of how you are, while also revealing how you are. It feeds around onto itself. And so in this second card, when you need the reminder, give it to yourself.
You are your own being, right? You are your own self. As much as we were talking about other people, even in, again, recontextualizing not just the creative process, but just life in general. We have friends, we have family, we have mentors, right? We have people that are there to tell us things about ourselves and to share with us how they're experiencing us. And they will also share their opinions and what they think should happen and what shouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. They're out there and they're feeding, they're saying, like, right, they're doing the I say, which is influenced by the I am. So they say they are.
Yeah, their intersection of air and earth is now spilling over onto your intersection of air and earth. So I'm certainly not saying that you don't get feedback from other people. I'm absolutely not saying that at all. I'm saying that it's an important part of your choice-making process. Mm-hmm. It is not the choice-making process. I mean, I guess the exception would be if you decide that you want to do something to scale way up and it has to be broadly attractive to a wide base of people, then yeah, you need to make it as bland as possible, I guess. But if you're not aiming to do something like that, then opinions are information. They're not what's the word? Dictums?
Dictums? I think that's the word.
Yeah.
Well, there's more to it. I agree with you. We're not saying that input's not important. What I was kind of getting at is that there is a lot of I say that will come at you, but you have to be able to still have the I am part of you, right? That there's a lot of I say, and sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. Sometimes we get feedback from those that really aren't qualified to give it to us, or are coming from their own places of just diabolicalness at times.
This card hasn't come up much. I don't remember 32 coming up much in our other readings from my system. If I remember correctly, this is air and earth coming together. If I remember correctly, this image in the book was sand dunes. And the way wind is constantly reshaping sand dunes, and the way how you use your words can alter someone's entire reality. And to be very careful about the way in which those winds blow, especially if you're blowing them at yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I had to contend with lots and lots of bullying when I was young, and gossip was particularly dangerous for me personally. And that's probably why this came up. If it's not this combination, then it would have been the inversion of it, which would be, oh, no, it's this one, because yeah, otherwise it'd be number 5, and there's no way that one's no, that's not the same. That one's about speaking out for justice. No, this one's the sand dunes. And to your point about the way in which people speak to you, be aware of the way in which it's shifting your sands around, how your sand dunes are being moved about by the wind.
I love the image of sand dunes because they're just very, very slow waves.
Yeah.
Very, very slow.
And they're never the same from one day to the next.
No. And yet they're still solid and firm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
like any other matter is mostly air. Empty space anyway. All matter is mostly empty space.
Well, it's a good example of being moved without being moved. So being shaped without losing shape. You are affected by those around you, right? You're affected by your own voice. You're affected by the voices of others. And I think this is a good reminder to consider, where are you? Don't lose you through all of this I say, right? Through all of this air. Don't lose your core being, but also investigate the others. Before you allow that wind into your life, right? Before you allow that air into your life, investigate what their I am is. Where is it? Is it really coming from a place of I don't want to say tranquility, because it doesn't have to be peaceful.
Well, at least helpfulness.
Yes. Well, is it coming from a place of love, I guess? Is it coming from a place of concern and care for your I am, right? Is it really concerned with your I am, or is it truly concerned with their I am, and they're just, like hot wind, they're just blowing everywhere?
And that's why you have to sift through it all and figure out which parts of people's opinions are what you're actually going to respond to.
And I think the reason my card came up, you're released from your fear, is that's the one thing that is holding you back in all of this, is your fear. They're activating your fear. So somewhere out there, your fear is being activated. The core of your being is being tested. And you're released from that fear. You don't have, there's nothing to prove. There's nothing to be. There's no sense that you have to overcome. You just are. I am. You just are.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be afraid in that. I think that's a poignant thing for the time that we're about to live through.
Yeah. We're on the precipice of a lot of wind.
Yes.
And a lot of shifting
There's
sand.
been this week's felt like the longest week ever. For context, this is the first week of the new term of presidency. There's been a lot of wind, a lot of blustering. One of my favorite news people says, remember, executive orders are like wishes. Like they still have to be made true. So there's it's a lot of wind, and it's a lot of political wind, and it's designed to shake the foundations of who you are, right? It's designed to, like a tornado. And does Sahara ever have tornadoes? Do they get that kind of weather pattern there?
They get sandstorms.
They do get sandstorms. Yeah. So I like a sandstorm. It's designed to blot everything out and
it does.
Yes, to make you feel very lost.
There's a lot of verbal debris flying around.
But you release from your fear. It's okay to be concerned. It's absolutely okay to be concerned, especially if things are coming close to you and coming close to home. Of course, you can be concerned, and you should make valuable plans, and you should have things that you're thinking about. But you don't have to fear for your core, right? You can trust your core. You don't have to unthink or undermine what you are. You are, and you don't have to fear it. I think it's time for some more cards. Let's see where this message takes us.
Are you pulling from yours, or do you want me to roll?
I want you to roll. I'm feeling the.
Oh, well, now we've got a sassy deck. We're at number 1, the projections deck. So this one's going to be right in your face, telling you what you don't want to know.
Keep trying to drop those dice there.
Number 28. So we're not too far away from number 32. Let's see what this is going to be. I think it's going to be the end of the heart cycle, if I remember correctly. Let's find out.
Well, I felt like we needed the heart chakra, so let's see if we got it.
Yep, here we are. And this is green, wood, I love, heart, as it's affected by yellow, fire, I do. So that's solar plexus coming right from the core. So green and yellow, yeah?
Yeah.
How I love is impacted by I do. Exchange juicy juju. Who brings you joy? Send a thank you note. Pay specific affirmations. Exchange juicy juju. Who brings you joy? Send a thank you note. Pay specific affirmations. And I know for a fact that this one came up recently because the poem on that one would be the palms holding soil with a sprout coming out of it with a sunbeam coming off of the soil. So this is the one that's specifically about maintaining, nurturing relationships. And if I remember correctly, this is going to be I profess that I love to exchange thriving energy, something along those lines. So here we are talking about the way in which other people's energy is affecting us. Okay. Well, when you do encounter something that's helpful from somebody, tell them, affirm them, maintain that connection. They're trying to be helpful and loving. They're trying to give you nourishing energy. Give it back to them. Don't just accept. Also offer it back to them. They need it just like you do. So within this broader context of letting go of fear and speaking your truth and remembering who you are, remember that you are not alone.
I say really factors into this. Like you very specifically, you have a communication thing. And I find that interesting between the throat and the sacral chakra. Solar plexus. That there is a sense of action in I say, like what you say is part of what you do. Words are actions.
Hopefully you're doing what you say you're going to do.
I mean, very true. Yeah, there needs to be an alignment between those two chakras, of course. But words are actions of their own. When you send them out, you create meaning and motion with them. Sometimes words are more powerful than anything else. Again, this week to contextualize, there's a lot of words floating around, and they are like actions. They do affect people. So even
if those words aren't actions, they certainly impact other people's actions.
I like the idea about specific affirmations. So there's definitely a sense of speaking and being in this, release from your fear, and now paying back energy that was shared with you.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed the heart chakra. Like I just knew it. I knew we needed the heart chakra because we needed the heart chakra.
Well, when you get into I say and I see and I know, these are all the way in which your upper self is connecting outward into the universe, and the heart is the balancing point between your lower self or your physical self and your upper self, your non-tangible self. Here's the balancing point. And how do you thrive in such a everything is chaos, really, organized chaos. But how do you find balance in all the chaos?
Well, you need the heart, right? You need love, joy, and grief too. You need to have the joys of things that are happy and brought to you, but you need to have the remembrance of things that have gone, because that's how you balance.
Or also that which has not yet come, for which you still strive.
Mm-hmm.
There's also hope built into this as well.
Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a communion here of your heart and your action.
Well, like for a specific, here's an idea. It's saying to pay someone a specific affirmation. Who brings you joy? Identify that person or those people. Send a thank you note or something to the effect that lets them know that you are thinking of them. Some kind of a gesture that communicates to them and connects to them what it is you're trying to share, which is this nourishing energy, and pay a specific affirmation. So for example, a specific affirmation I would pay you is that I have heard you say in the past that you are not feeling very creative. Sometimes you feel like you've been in a lull, and yet here you are creating a lot and re-engaging with your creative life, despite having to be busy with work and despite having to balance a household and despite having to help your dad and everything else that's going on and physical pain that you might be feeling or whatever. You're still making time to be creative. And that's such a valuable, you put so much of your personal value into being creative, and now you're feeding it. And I want to affirm that. I'm happy that you are doing that.
Well, thank you. I'm happy too. It's helping to rebalance my own sort of undoneness that I felt, because I had not really put much effort into creativity for a few years. There was
which I have to say, looking from the outside is very strange, because the way in which we met way back in like 2012 or something, we met under the auspices of creativity, and I had never known you as anything but manically creative.
Well, at the time you met me, I was manic and creative.
Yes, and it was like this whole whirlwind of just oceans of ideas. And so I'm happy that you're not feeling overwhelmed by your creativity, but still coming back around to ideas that you had put aside, but now finding the value in them again.
Well, I think it's unfortunate that creativity is in bursts and mania is in bursts. And when you're manic, you can be creative, you can be deeply creative. And I was actually writing a line like this. It was in a much different context. It was in a sexual context, but the idea about ruining you from any other, touch, because it'll never be like this touch. That's how manic creativity feels to me. Like it never feels like that again, because I'm medicated and I am balanced and I am in a far better place than I was over a decade ago when we met. But nothing.
That's so crazy. We met 13 years ago.
Yes.
Bitch, you're getting old.
I,
however, am timeless.
Timeless. It doesn't feel like it did, right? It doesn't feel like those moments of mania before, where it would just explode. And I don't even know if it was good. How
does it feel now? You've got the ideas you're working on. There aren't as many of them, but the ones you've got are really good. Mm-hmm. You're not being manic. I mean, okay, so it's not this manic splatter of ideas, but the ideas you've got that you've shown me are really quite lovely. How does it feel to be focused on a smaller volume of high quality stuff? Not to say that your other stuff wasn't high quality, but this is really potentially high quality world you're creating here. And it's more narrow in terms of your focus, and yet still has all this capacity to grow and be this complicated universe. How does it feel?
it feels very, very different. And like, I listen to some podcasts. I like some podcasts about writing, but I'm not like them. And that's why I'm not a commercial fiction writer, right? That's literally why I'm not, because I can't do what they do. I'll never be able to do what they do. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. That's just not how my creativity and my brain works. So it feels very different because I'm working on the craft, but in my way. And until I actually started learning a little bit more about Hemingway, I thought I was crazy. I thought I was the only one that did this. And then I'm like, oh no, some people don't outline and work to their outline and finish their draft and, have a book in 3 drafts. Like that's never going to be me. I like I told you today, I wrote a thing, threw it out, rewrote it completely top to bottom. And, I, on the podcast, I hear that they actually said they're like, that sounds like the most horrible thing I could ever do. I'm like, but that's all I do.
Well, but also they're treating every one of their words too preciously. If something you've written is not what it needs to be, then you have to be able to let it go and do something else, try something else, let it be something else. I think part of what's difficult with the creative process is recognizing that, yes, you are giving birth to something. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is your baby, but that baby is not you. That baby needs to be healthy and it needs to be able to grow and thrive on its own outside of you. Just like when we can want what we want for our children and they still become who they are. So in the process of creation, if they're saying things like, well, that's just horrible, I can't imagine that. Well, you've fallen in love with your work, with the idea of your work and not allowing the work to be what it needs to be. So you starting over every time you need to start over is giving this baby a chance to tell you who it is instead of you demanding who this child is going to become.
It's true. And that's exactly how I feel about outlines. I did outline a book. I did it the right way. And I can't write the book because it's just... no. It's no. And I think so to elevate this beyond kind of where we are right now, like obviously, if this is speaking to you from your creative perspective, then welcome to the club. We enjoy having you with us. But I think from a larger perspective, how are you connecting with the love and the doing of your life right now as you are interacting with others? How are you using your words to affirm, to share your energy through love with others? And how are you doing that from a place of solid connection with yourself? Where are you solidly connecting with yourself so that you can be without fear, that you can be in this world without fear, not without concern, but without fear.
How you can filter through what you're receiving. So yes, you're putting out good stuff, but make sure that that's what you're receiving as well.
Well, your card is in response to joy coming to you, right? Joy being shared with you in response to your heart chakra being activated. What are you doing to respond to that? So there's an incoming signal. What are you doing to respond to that? And yes, within my creativity, I love it. And I treat it tenderly now. When I was manic, I just did it. It was like an explosion.
You could take it for granted at that time too.
Yeah, I just whipped things out. Just spread words across the page. And yes, I wrote 6 books, but I haven't even looked back on them. I don't know that I want to look back on them.
Do you even remember them really?
I mean, yes, but it's because I edited them. So,
gotcha.
I did kind of spend some time with them in a more sober state. As Hemingway would say, in a more sober state. I interacted with them, but I did it. I spread it around, and now there's more of a tender, loving care for it. Like, I have little tidbits that I put there, and if it gives me joy, I go back to it. And I try to discover it. I try to uncover it and polish it. And I had to go into another one and surgically remove some stuff because it wasn't right. The character wasn't right. There wasn't enough meat there. It was just sort of a blah, 2 people in a car talking. It was blah. And I'm like, there needs to be more stakes to the level of this conversation. And so now I'm, it's like I'm curating my creativity, and it's a very different relationship with my creativity. And
well, something else, recently we had a discussion about the way in which you store your drafts, and you had been referring to it like as a garbage can or something.
I call it putting it away, but yeah,
but I offered the term vault,
which I love.
And, reaching back into a vault is very different than reaching into a trash can. So this goes back to the beginning of the reading and looking at context and the way you frame something, because these other drafts of works you started a long time ago, they're not trash. They're just, gemstones waiting to be polished.
And I think that elevating it holds true for your life. You are expressing yourself as a being. And I think we are all creative beings. Everything that we do is creativity. It's a matter of how we focus that creativity. Is that creativity focused on improving others and loving others and expressing important ideas to others? Or, is that focused on, the winds shifting you and you losing yourself in that shifting sand? And
you have to be careful.
Here we are, very much saying, go to the source of joy in your life and affirm it, rekindle it with your flames. So, flames, the third chakra in my deck is flames. Rekindle the flames, which are flames of creativity, action, and give that energy back to someone else that has helped to kindle in you. And I just love that this is through the heart, because I think that's exactly what needs to be done. You have to work through your heart. You have to work through your care and compassion and love for others, and your understanding and your ability to feel both joy and sadness when you are interacting with others, because not everybody's at the same level or the same state. And even as you try to achieve peace, you still have these heights and these lows that factor into what you're doing. So
I want to hear from your deck.
I do too. Let us see where we go. We're going quite low. I just keep pulling cards, more and more cards. Where are you? You're practically at the end. There you are. Okay. It's almost the last card.
Okay.
Oh, we're with the root chakra still. This is the Sentinel of Seeds. The Sentinel of Seeds. Do the work that now needs doing. Do the work that now needs doing.
Okay. So within the broader reading, I would say that this is a reminder that once you have taken stock of your frame of mind and the way in which you have created stability for yourself and the way in which you're interacting with people, and you understand the way you're sharing ideas and energy with people, if you're already so laser focused, then when you look about yourself, it should become clear what actually requires your attention and what doesn't.
The seeds are an interesting thing for me because they're either coins or pentacles in the tarot. They were originally coins, and then they became pentacles as there was more sort of, I can't think of the word now. What's the occult? There we go. As more occult imagery was placed upon what became the tarot as we know it, it became pentacles as, a symbol of the occult. But originally it's coins. And there's a lot of context, a lot of decks that treat them as seeds because, first of all, they're the element of earth. So it makes sense. But then also like the idea of planting to give growth to things, right? Planting to yeah. and crops are money, in a lot of contexts when there's no financial system over everything, right? The ability to grow food gives you wealth.
Is the economy. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, seeds are investments.
Mm-hmm. so the seeker of seeds would plan the fields, right? They would visualize where everything is going to go.
Seeker or the sentinel?
The seeker would.
Okay.
And then the sentinel
okay, all right,
comes along and actually does the planting.
Okay, gotcha.
So the sentinel is all about action, which goes to our third chakra, which we've had here. But the sentinel is all about doing it. But the one thing I like about the sentinel of seeds is that there's a very tried and true and deliberate methodology. Like, you don't rush when you plant. You have to do it precisely. You have to have it in rows. And I was reading about Native Americans. They would intertwine 3 crops so that each one had...
They're all feeding each other.
Yes, exactly. One would enrich the soil. One would give stalks for the beans to climb. There would be this interaction effect. But you have to be extremely deliberate when you do that. You can't just scatter the seeds on the ground and walk away. You have to plant them very specifically and with deliberate thought and intention. And that's where this sentinel is a little bit different than like the sentinel of flames, who's wild and filled with almost manic energy. This sentinel is very deliberate in their actions, and I love that. So I think, as much as this is saying it's time to get the work done, right? It's time to get things accomplished and finished. You're doing it in a deliberate way, and it speaks to me. Like, we've been speaking about my creativity this time. It speaks to me from that perspective. Is it's time to do the work. It's time to do the work of creativity, which is not mania. It is plotting. It's trying, it's putting words down, it's looking at those words, it's coming back, it's revisiting them. And I think this is true of life too. Not everything that we do is going to be perfect and right the first time. We're going to have to come behind and fix our mistakes, but we still have to do it. We have to engage, as much as we might want to go hide and, or get stuck thinking and dreaming, right? Like the seeker gets stuck in that, planning phase, and you've planned everything, but you never actually took that first step forward.
And if we're looking at this in terms of an investment of energy and or resources, and perhaps you, listener, are not in a creative process at this particular moment. So, taking the scope of this broader, you can still make choices about where you invest yourself, where you invest your resources and your time and your energy and your care. But the time to do that is now. You've set yourself free of your fear. You figured out that you're standing on solid ground. You're connecting with the community, the people who are there for you. You are there for them. Now act.
Do what needs doing. And I try not to be too poetic in my cards. I tend towards that. You've read one of my first drafts that was very heavy on the poetry. I don't know. It's how my brain works. I deal with it in the edit. But do the work that now needs doing. Like, I very specifically chose the phrasing of that. And it's not just do the work that needs doing. Do the work that now, in this moment, needs doing.
Especially once you understand the context better of how you're connecting with people and getting information to and from them.
I have a task list. It's how I operate. I have email. I have a digital brain where I write things down that I can search for later. And then I have a task list. So the task list is how I keep myself on track with what I'm doing day to day. And it's important to organize that task list by what I need to do now versus later, right? So I have to kind of plan my days. I do meetings, and then I have work times, and I do time blocking on my calendar to kind of help me stay on track with what I'm doing. And the now part is a very important thing, because it's very easy to simply say it all needs to get done right now and just, try to work down the list, but it doesn't all need to get done right now. And that's kind of one of the hardest things that I had to learn to get to the level that I'm at, is that now is for now, later is for later, and that's okay. Like we're told, like, don't leave tasks undone, finish your work. Your work is ongoing. And I have, I don't know, 10, 15 projects I think that I'm involved with at any one point in a week. Well, I can't work on all of them at the same time.
There's a discipline of prioritization here. Now, if everything needs to be done now, nothing will get done now. If everything is a top priority, nothing is a top priority. So you have to trust that you understand prioritization and do what needs to be done now.
I like where we're at with this because we have a lot of overlap, right, with these chakras. A lot of, like, normally, you and I both, our chakra statements are within the chakra, but we've pulled different cards that sort of branch out. So this is a root chakra card talking about doing, which is the third chakra, the solar plexus, right? It's action and fire, but we're talking about it in the terms of earth. Like, there's a lot of overlap. I think there's just sort of a larger overarching thing of you're an integrated creature. And that's why I love your decks. So my affirmation to you is that you have absolutely created something new with the intersections of things being what we talk about. It's just, I've never seen it before. I just haven't.
Well, thank you. And I didn't either, so I made it.
But not only did you make it, you made it, right?
Honey, I baked this cake.
It's different than just imagining it or doing it halfway or being partially successful. Like, no, you did it, and you did it 4 fucking times, almost 5. We almost had 5 decks.
Yeah.
Speaking of prioritization, we almost did 5 damn decks.
Yeah.
But Thank you. There's a lot of intersections, and I think that's the reminder in a nutshell, is that there's a lot of things that are intersecting with you right now. And there's your internal voice. There is your fear of rejection, of imposter, all the things that challenge, criticism, all the things that challenge our root being. And yet there's love and joy entering your life and being part of you. And these are all happening simultaneously. I think this is one of the more active readings we've done, where everything is merging together and crossing and overlapping. And I think that's beautiful. Like I think you said earlier, everything is chaos. Mm-hmm. Everything is chaotic and all the time. Like the chaos is how we have life. If there wasn't chaos, there wouldn't be life.
There'd just be stagnation. There'd be nothing.
The elements would be all ordered, and that would be fine. But nothing would spark the bang.
Nothing would interact.
Yeah, it would
all be stillness.
Just the great crunch. I mean, even perturbations in gravity, like chaos in the tiniest of elements. That's you, and it's good to celebrate that. It might not feel that way, but it's good to celebrate that.
Everything oscillates. Like you have some chaos, and you have some rest. You have some more chaos, and you have some rest. Can't be chaos all the time.
But, I cannot.
You at least need to take a moment to, consider what the chaos is.
I think I'm going to pull one more card from my deck because I just want to see if I pull one more seed or if we'll have a change. I want to kind of give it an opportunity. All right, here we go. No, we did not pull a seed. All right. We have the 3 of Waves. Dance above the water where 3 waves meet.
We've had this one before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dance above the water where 3 waves meet.
Okay, and waves for you is emotion, correct?
Yep, this is second chakra. Water's the element, obviously, waves. And here it's the 3, which is a kind of communion, like the 3 of Seeds, 3 of Pentacles, is about community. The 3 of cups, in this case, the three of waves, is a different kind of merging of emotions of love and connection. And, for me, it's when you get that convergence of waves and that little drop of water bloops up. It's a metaphor for our life, right? That we're that little drop of water that bloops up from the water for a time before it drops back down and joins the ocean. And for a moment, we're suspended up there in the air, unique and separated, but also joined.
And ready to return. So then, okay, let me chew on this for a second. So dance above the water where the waves meet?
Where three waves meet.
Okay. So the way that reads to me in this moment, within the context of everything else, is to strive towards enjoying this process. Dancing above it, rising above it, separating for just a moment from above it, knowing that you have a safe place to come back down to that will cradle you and reabsorb you. So you go through all these processes, but try to remember to do it with joy and to do it with gratitude. So although you have an individual identity, you are still part of an ocean of humanity. And yet you are a water drop unto yourself. But by yourself, what are you? It wouldn't matter what you make or what you have or what you share or what you take. Or it wouldn't matter if you're by yourself. It has to be done within the concept of creativity and comparison to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, let's say that you have all the gold in the world, but you're the only person. Well, okay.
Right.
Now what? I mean, if you like gold, that's great, but what is it for if nobody else is there to give it value with you? What's the point? And the gold in this case might be your ideas or your actions or, whatever the value commodity is. If it's just you and no one else, it doesn't have the same value without the connection back to everybody else.
I like this card because it's in the second chakra, which is emotions. And waves make waves bigger, right? Sympathetic waves make other waves bigger. Sound increases sound. Light increases light. There's
love increases love.
Love increases love. There's a community of energy, and when it is in harmony, it can make each other greater. The overtone series, right? In a chord, the overtones, and it's the overtones that make it beautiful. Otherwise, it would just be three notes. But it's because of how their overtones, how all these sympathetic vibrations react together that form that beauty, that majesty that we love so much when we listen to music. And how, if you love piano music, that's wonderful. I do too, but the piano will never be tuned properly because it sort of does a half guess on each of the notes. And the truth is that in a perfect chord, the third is lowered just a little bit. But they came up with tempered tuning, which was close enough. So a piano is only close enough. But if you listen to symphony or in particular brass instruments, just because of they have very rich overtones, when brass instruments harmonize and the third is at the right level that it should be, there's just a glorious opening of just everything. And that's waves for me. That's why emotions are waves, because they have that ability to be so wonderful and gorgeous. And, I just think about the patterns that water makes, when you look at snowflakes.
Have you seen, you've got a lot more background in music than me, so probably you have, but have you seen the videos where people will put a speaker on a bowl of water, and when they put different notes through the water, it makes different shapes and the reverberations that move through the water?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The notes have specific sound or shapes. Excuse me. It's really.
You can do it with metal filings on a plate. You can send reverberations through metal, and it will adjust the filings, and they'll make different shapes. Singing bowls filled with water and then rubbed at the edge creates just marvelous. I'm talking about, things dancing above the waves. Hundreds of things are dancing above the waves, and a slow motion creates smaller waves. More energy creates more waves. There's beautiful physicality to water and vibrations, waters and waves. There's beauty to it. So
finding the joy in doing all this. So we're talking about managing chaos and managing your fear and understanding how everything reverberates between yourself and other people, and then remembering to enjoy it because this is life. This is what life is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have a members-only podcast. It is not actually on Apple, as you might have heard me say. We are going to go with Patreon because Apple does not let me do members for some reason. So look forward to seeing our Patreon, where you can support us and get longer versions of the episode, where we talk about how the reading affected us personally and give a little bit more insights. A little bit, if you want some longer episodes with some personal insights, that's where you go to find it. On YouTube, we are Show Your Deck. You can see the wonderful images of the cards that we have made. They're all pretty because we are visual, creative people, and it's funny that we're doing an audio medium for our work, but hey, what are you going to do? Make a video. That's what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Books and decks are available at showyourdeck.com. You can get links to our decks through our publisher, or you can get links to our books. My book is on Amazon Kindle Unlimited, so you can get it for free. If you have a Kindle Unlimited membership, you just go down there and download it. Jack's books are available from him through his publisher. He has wonderful 7x7 books with pretty colored edges, and he will sign it in whatever color ink you like. It's beautiful and wonderful. Jack, where can we find you?
I'm at 49 Haiku. So that would be the number 4, the number 9, HAIKU. On the internet, that would be 49haiku.com. And on Instagram, it is at 49 Haiku.
I am Dean Sage Media. Find me if you like. I will be there. Our Instagram is at your deck, and we will say goodbye for now.